All right, welcome back, everybody. You already know what it is, 90 minutes or more, tapping right back in with some more football updates. There's been so much that's been going on, honestly, since we last checked in with you guys. So, yeah, it's going to be a super fun episode just to touch on a lot of topics. There's a lot of football ahead of us on the schedule, a lot of important games. It's kind of getting to that point in the season where essentially yeah, everyone has to either get it together or not, right? So, anyways, you already know here with Vicente on board, and we are going to break some stuff down. So, yeah, let's get right into it. So, the first thing we're going to talk about on this episode is the Premier League title race, of course, which is we've been kind of highlighting over the last few weeks. It's been a two-headed race between Man City and Arsenal, but recently this week, Man City did finally drop points against Nottingham Forest, and Arsenal did pull away with a 7-point lead as they took care of business against Brighton. Yeah, kind of what we expected. You know, we were kind of expecting Man City to maybe keep it close. But what are your initial thoughts on that?
Yeah, so it was 2-2, right, against Nottingham Forest?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Man City, I guess they couldn't take the intensity until the end of the season. Like, I think what I mentioned in the last episode was that I feel that Man City kind of noticed at the end that they had a chance and they dropped a lot of points in the beginning, right? So that's pretty much what happened because,
For sure,
at the end of the
definitely.
day, you can always drop points at the end of the season, 1 or 2 or 3 games, right? But now they had no margin of error. So
When you're
that's what happened.
chasing,
Like,
yeah, exactly. When you're chasing a lead like that, and you want to keep up, you're always under the pressure. I think that's what I was saying originally. I was like, the pressure is still going to be on Man City no matter what. As Arsenal, they just have to just keep collecting points, and that's what it's looking like. So there's a couple talking points with that. I was talking to one of my Manchester City friends, and he was absolutely complaining about Phil Foden, complaining about Nico Riley, complaining about Aiton Nuri, and some of the guys that Pep has kind of relied on over the last little while. It's interesting to see, those rotation players kind of becoming starters. In other teams, those players might not be uh, really considered as starting players. So, do you have any comments on like Manchester City's depth and how that kind of factored in?
I think it's being mad at Pep. It's kind of unfair because he's literally rebuilding the team and he's going to keep certain players that maybe a lot of people aren't happy with.
Mm-hmm.
I think Phil Foden is a part of his squad for many, many years, so he knows the message that he wants to portray. So I think he has to keep playing in that regard. And I think this season for him is just to try to make sure that his team is as competitive as possible. Let's just keep in mind that they are also in the Champions League, so they have two important tournaments that they are competing until the end of the season. And
Right.
if you think about it, it's just last season and this season that they have not win anything. And I think that's good enough. I think for next season, they're probably going to be up there trying to compete for the Premier League again. Like everything is going to be as usual for Manchester City, I would say. If Pep
Yeah.
continues, of course.
I think it's still a tough stretch, to be honest with you. I don't think that Manchester City getting back to the levels that they were like 4 years ago when they were the absolute best team in football, like hands down, right? I think getting back to those levels might be a little difficult. It's a renovation, there's a lot of different faces over the last 4 years. So even with Foden, maybe it's a little unfair to get at him because he's had to play with so many different players and whatever, right? But at the same time, I think people are just questioning the match, right? Whether it's still a match for the team and for the success. And when you think about it, like when they had guys like Kyle Walker as well, right? Or some of the other right? It's like it's a totally different team, right? So
Yeah.
we from that I can kind of see what a successful Man City looks like versus this team. I think this team definitely needs, I don't know, some sort of changes, whether it be the depth players, rotation players, whether it be the team just needs time, like you're saying,
Yeah.
that could be it as well. So yeah, we'll look out for that. We'll see how they uh, do in the next season or two. I was also and I wanted to bring it up quickly before we move on. I always wondered about the financial fair play thing with Manchester City and how it's always been rumored that they're going to get hit with all these charges and whatever they did and leaked emails and things like that. It always made me wonder, like, is Pep a little bit more hesitant in the market, with the players that he's getting, or maybe the club in general? Is there a sense that, what, we did too much in the beginning and we kind of have to, take it a little bit more easy with the signings. They're still signing players. I'm not saying they're not, but I don't think not to the extent that they were, 5 or 10 years ago. So yeah,
Yeah, but
very interesting.
you can ask any one last thought about
Yeah,
that. You can
yeah.
even ask AI. I mean, Manchester City in the Premier League has probably been one of the best teams, if not the best team in the last 10 years.
Oh
And
yeah.
if you like ask any AI or if you try to look up the numbers, I think Manchester City is not the team that has spent more money at all. It's quite far from it, actually. So I think
Mhm.
the narrative that we say, oh, Pep is spending a lot of money in Manchester City, that's why he wins and stuff like that, that's
Right,
completely
right, right,
false. Like, look at Chelsea, look at Arsenal, that hasn't won anything in many years. Look at
right.
Manchester United. I mean, I think it's just a narrative. They're just trying to say that, oh, Pep is
For
spending a
sure,
lot of
for
money, that's why
sure.
he wins.
I,
Not really. Pep is Pep for me.
Right, right. And I wasn't really buying into that. For me, it's more like whether he's more hesitant because of what the club went through with that situation. Sometimes you could be
Yeah,
more hesitant in the market or for whatever reason, and it's something that's always circulated. But we will follow it and we'll see exactly how things play out. And I know that game against Real Madrid is going to be pretty
pretty important.
interesting. So yeah, moving forward, of course, on the other side, we're talking about Arsenal, of course, and there's been a big debate online as to whether their style of play this year has been justified, whether it's a likable style of play. They of course score a lot of goals from set pieces, and it seems to be a clarified intention for them to, put a different type of energy and maybe aggression into these corner kicks and whatnot. There's actually a stat where I think this year they've scored 21 goals from set pieces and they've scored 30 goals from open play. So not exactly equal, but basically 1 out of every 3 goals is coming from a set piece, which is fine in the modern era of football. I have no complaints in that regard. My only thoughts, and I'll go first, I guess, is like I said, some of the aggression, some of the aggressive tactics and nature that I've seen some of these important corner kick goals, like some of the big games against Chelsea, against Liverpool, against whatever. It seems like a very dire, desperate type of corner kick goal and just opposed to the contrast of the beautiful football that we love to see, the volleys, the worldies, the Lamine Yamal type goals, like, and the things that we love to see. On the contrast, for me, it does make me question, not whether it's deserved because they totally deserve to be where they are through their play, but it's just the whole thing about it. What are your thoughts?
Well, I am usually very like I take a lot of importance on keeping us like in a certain style, playing a great, visual football, if you want to say that.
Yeah.
For me,
Yes.
the
Yes.
style is unnegotiable. Nonetheless, I think Arsenal has spent so many years trying to find their style and not winning in the process that I think that at this point they just have to win something. At least, especially the Premier League, right? They just have to win the league, remove all that bad energy of not winning from their from the
Yeah.
club, and then
For
next year
sure.
kind of focus on like, let's see the style, let's see this and that. You know what I mean? Because they need that relief of winning a Premier League,
Yes. Yeah. The
and
the
especially
nightmares. The
for
nightmares
Arteta.
of yeah.
Yeah,
The
like I
nightmares of
totally
not
get it at this point. It's been
winning.
years.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Like I was saying, the nightmares of not winning for so long. Um, yeah, it's definitely seeped in, and we can see that it's fine. And you know what? If looks like they're gonna, they almost have one hand on the trophy on the Premier League title. So if they're able to continue, then like you said, get the monkey off the back and finally be able to find a new style through that. I'm all for that. Now that you put it in that perspective, if it's
Absolutely.
because exactly that, I don't think it's something that can last forever and that is sustainable. It's kind of working out of desperation now, but I think yeah, it's exactly that. So uh, very interesting, very interesting. And I wanted to also contrast it to how in the Premier League say 5, 10 years ago, whenever it was, we had Premier League title wins such as the Aguero goal, where he scored on the last day. And Manchester City had an amazing run that year, or Didier Drogba with Chelsea and Frank Lampard and all those guys, like the classic Premier League wins. It just feels a little
Yeah.
bit different this year with Arsenal, right? It doesn't feel like that majestic feeling, that euphoric, like, this team played an amazing style of football and they had amazing goals. It feels different. It does. And that's what I have to say about it for sure. All right. So next topic, Copa del Rey, Atletico Madrid, Barcelona. What a game. 3-0. I'll let you go ahead on this one and give us your thoughts.
Well, of course, not happy for not winning, but not unhappy for the way we lost. I think we let go of the playoff in the first half of the first game, which is it was very individual errors and bad defending on that game. But I feel that this game showed everybody that, it's not the line of defense, it's not the style of playing, it's just a way, it's just like not making mistakes in the style of playing that Fleek wants to portray. We attacked
Sure.
the whole game. Barcelona played in Atletico Madrid's field all the time. That I didn't
Yeah,
see like
your
they
your
only have
defenders were like very high.
they were on fire. They were no, and also like Kubarsi was on fire, like very very good. Very it's like their focus was on a different level in that game, so mistakes were not making so much. And I think it's just like it just shows that when you're 110% on the game, that style of playing with a high defense lineup, it works wonders. And I think the players
Right.
have to notice that, and they have to trust Fleek 100% moving forward after this game. Because, over the season, I saw that the players were a little hesitant on the style, but I think this game shows the players, which is, they have to be shown that the style of playing still works, and they have to keep pushing on that, right? So
Do you think that this style of play requires Pedri to work a bit more harder, kind of like how he did in this game, where Pedri was like 100% effort, you know what I mean? And even when he was tired, which I seen he was tired, he decided
he
to
was.
continue, right? So, do you feel
Well,
that now Atletico Madrid face Real Sociedad quickly before we move on? Any predictions for that? Do you see any surprises from Sociedad, or do you think Atletico it's theirs to win?
I mean, I always like to put percentages in that regard, so I would give Real Sociedad like a 35% chance, 30% chance to win, and Atletico 70% chance to win. I think
Fair enough.
Atletico
Fair.
Madrid they have they have to put all their energy on this game. They are pretty comfortable on the league. They kind of already know that they will not be winning the La Liga.
Mhm.
They are in the top four, and they are in the top four for like I think they have like 7 or 9 points to you know, like as a buffer for them to stay on the Champions League
Right.
for next season. So yeah. So what I'm trying to say is that like I think Atletico Madrid can relax a little bit on the league just to focus on this last game in the Copa del Rey. So they do have a lot of chances to win this one. And I think it would be fair for Cholo, for players like Griezmann that have been playing very good football, even Julian Alvarez that he seems to be a little discouraged about playing in Atletico Madrid for years and not winning anything.
Good point. Because if Julian Alvarez wins the Copa del Rey, then he's making a very strong case for his trophy cabinet at this point. I think last year was the only season he ever went without a title. So yeah, him getting the Copa del Rey will definitely be a good thing to see. But I agree, and I think the bookmakers would agree as well. Probably 70-30 split, and then we'll kind of see how Real Sociedad can react to that game. Anyways, switching over to the Serie A quickly. So of course, Inter Milan are now 10 points clear on AC Milan. What an amazing feeling, to be honest with you, coming from an Inter Milan fan's standpoint. Yeah, it's absolutely thrilling to be 10 points up, but we know how important this game is going to be. This is pretty much we can almost seal the title this weekend. If we win and go 13 points up, I don't see any way that AC Milan could ever come back. Yeah, of course, DiMarco has continued his form. Lautaro is still going to be injured for this matchup, so it's still going to be tough because some rotation players might need to come into play. We're going to see who's healthy, who's fit, and yeah, I'm hoping that this team just gives 130, 40, 50, 200%, into this game. And at minimum, if we get away with a tie, then that's also okay too. Do you have any quick thoughts on what you've been seeing from the outside of
I think
Serie A
well, now Inter has only the league to worry about, right?
and Coppa Italia
So
as well? But yeah,
yeah. And how
not
far are
not.
they from that one?
They played the first leg 2 days ago and they drew, so they're semifinals and then the semifinals. So there'll be one
Okay.
more leg, two more games if they want to win that one, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. So if I would use they practically back the league at this point, and I think they have to like try to like be as rested as they can for the Coppa Italia as well, and so they can win 2 titles this year, which is a great season, right? It's a
Right,
great season.
100%.
Or how would you approach it? Will you try to get like a record, amount of points for the last bit of the season? How would you approach this time?
Well, I think I've already looked at the matchups, and we are on the easier scale. We're on the easier side of the matchups. I think other than Milan, we already faced Napoli, we already faced Juventus. We're gonna face Milan. We face Atalanta already. Like so, we're in a good position either way. I think yeah, I think securing what we can through, especially if we can get the 3 points on this game. I think I'm more concerned with the gap, if that's what you're asking. Keeping the gap, between us and AC Milan is probably, more than, oh, I want to get 90 points, or I want to get 85 points or something like that. But I think personally we're probably going to get north of 80, 82, 86, 88 points maybe. So yeah, and in terms of Coppa Italia, to be honest, we actually did pretty good because we tied the first leg 2 days ago, but we played pretty much our rotation players, right? Only half of the starters played. So I know, we kind of just took it easy that game. We took that game like as a little practice drill. Like, let's just get through the 90 minutes, and we have an important game on the weekend. And yeah, I think after that, it should be smooth sailing, as one would say.
Yeah.
All right, moving forward. So the Champions
One
League
second.
round of six. Yeah. All right. So, yeah, like we were saying, the Champions League round of 16 is now upon us, and the matchups have been drawn. Some interesting matchups. We'll go through them quickly. PSG and Chelsea. What are your first thoughts?
Yeah, for me, PSG is the better team in this one, and I think that this game it's going to be kind of the revenge from the final game of the Club World Cup last year.
Right.
I think PSG. Plus, we have to remember that PSG. I hate to say it this way, but they do have an easier league, so in that regard, they can rest, quote unquote, rest his players, the important players, for the games on the Champions League. That's a huge advantage that PSG has on the Champions League, and nobody
Right.
ever mentions it.
Very true.
Um,
Very true.
right? Bayern Munich has kind of the same, but like for Spanish teams or Premier League teams, it's a little bit more difficult to compete in the Champions League, 110%, because they also have to play the league. Not being in the top four is really hard for that. But PSG pretty much has either they probably already won the league or they are in the top four for sure, right? So
Hmm.
so I would give the edge to PSG for that.
I agree. I agree. I think PSG does have the edge. I think that if Chelsea does have a bit of an attacking issue. I think Cole Palmer has had kind of a weird season, and I know one of their strikers, Liam Delap, he's also underperformed. So the way I look at it, it pretty much falls on João Pedro and Enzo Fernandez to get the job done. So you're kind of playing on the backs of two guys, unless I don't know, some of the other players have an amazing breakout performance in the match. But I agree. I think PSG should be able to maintain over the 180 minutes and probably strike early, And it's probably a situation where even if Chelsea does strike early, I think PSG can come back very easily as well. So next one is Real Madrid and Man City. So of course, some things going on which we're going to talk about as well with Mbappe. However, it's crazy how it's been Manchester City and Real Madrid 5 years in a row. Like, we're running out of things to talk about when it comes to this matchup. We can go season by season and be like, okay, they're having a good year, they're not having a good year. This guy's injured, this guy's not injured. But in reality, like, these two teams are kind of like at the same level in a weird way at this point in time. 3 years ago they were at the top, and now they seem to be. There's teams that have surpassed them, right? And they're kind of in that mid elite. Like, but we're not elite right now, So I don't know. What are your predictions for this game?
Well, I'm gonna give the edge to Real Madrid on this one. Yeah, for the things they can get away, and also for the style of playing, I think Manchester City, they do not have the level of strikers they used to have, so they will have to generate a lot of options to score for them to win in this game. And that's something that Real Madrid can take advantage of because of the style they play, right?
Mm-hmm.
Vini's gonna, long ball, and Vini can run and score a goal. I think Mbappe is gonna be more crucial on the second game if he can make it after his injury.
Mm-hmm.
I think he will probably force for that game, depending on the result of the first leg. So I don't think Madrid. We have to remember that Real Madrid won a Champions League with Joselu a few years ago, scoring goals, right? So I don't
Yeah,
think Real Madrid is about the players. As long as they can do what they know, I think it's always been the same way. I have a memory of, I think it was 2001 with Real Madrid winning the Champions League with Anelka.
yeah,
So yeah, so you know what I
very
mean?
true.
Like I don't think it's about having or not having the player. And sometimes I feel that when Mbappe is not on the pitch, I think they are more liberated. They are not playing for one player in particular. So
Right,
that could also be a positive thing for them too. So I'm gonna give the edge
100%.
to Real Madrid on this one.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think based off how the players are performing right now, even though, you can't say anything crazy about Real Madrid, you just get the feeling that player for player right now, they could match up with Man City and, probably find some goals somewhere. Like you're saying, even with Anelka, they can find goals, right? So they'll be able to find goals. And if Man City isn't able to play at that high pace, that high passing that we're all accustomed to seeing. You know what I mean? The short passing, the figuring out situations, the combination plays. That's where they're best at. So if they're not able to do that, they kind of have to look at Barcelona and how Barcelona beats Madrid and say, if we're gonna be Madrid, we kind of have to, maybe go a little bit like this. Anyway, so that's that. We'll go to the next one, of course. Newcastle, Barcelona. I don't think Barcelona's faced Newcastle, in a pretty long time, right? If I'm mistaken.
No, they played on the mini league on Champions League. They won.
Oh,
Barca won
okay,
two
okay.
one. I think
Okay, okay,
Rashford
right.
scored two goals.
Right. I do remember that last year, right? Or was it this
Yep.
year? Last year, yeah.
I mean last year, yeah.
Yeah, awesome. So there's a little bit of history there, I guess. Obviously most people would look at this and be like, Barcelona is gonna take this, no problem, better players, better style of play. What I want to ask, what do you think Newcastle has to offer? Maybe from when you watched them that game. Um, do you think Newcastle has anything to offer that can compete?
Well, they have Bruno Guimaraes, right?
Yeah. Guimaraes, um,
Yeah, that's going to be a battle
Gordon.
for the midfield. I'm going to be honest with you, and especially on the first game, you have to remember that the players for Barcelona, especially on the midfield, are not physical at all. So, I think they can be overcome. Pedri, and if De Jong is playing, of course, or Bernal, Bruno Guimaraes is strong enough to kind of be on a higher physical level than those
Hmm.
two. Sorry. So
Right.
that's an edge that they do have, and also you like most if we talk about any game that would have could happen, I think when Barcelona plays a team that we could say it's on a quote unquote on a lower level, it tends to be harder because the script of the game has already been written. We already know that Barcelona is going to be the one with the ball. We're going to know that we know that Newcastle is going to be counterattacking all the time.
Mm.
And sometimes if you don't have a good day, you don't score enough goals, Newcastle can kill you on a counter attack. So I think in that regard, we already know the script of this game. It's everything. It's obviously I give the edge to my team, Barcelona, but I think it all depends on the day. If Barcelona do not score goals, they will simply lose because Newcastle has some potential to score goals.
More physical style players. I see what you mean. Definitely, they definitely play with that Premier League edge. I've watched them a few times. They're very pacey. They're like you're saying, physical. They almost like to score through using their physicality, right, and through using a lot of the wide play, running around everywhere, and being that kind of pesty team, being kind of like a pain in the ass type of thing. So, and then their coach Eddie Howe is actually pretty decent as well. He's a pretty good game manager. I've seen him in some tough situations where I could tell his tactics still kind of show positively.
Mhm.
So it's going to be very interesting to see. I obviously give the edge to Barcelona. Like in the Camp Nou, it's going to be incredibly hard for Newcastle. If things go well for Barcelona, they could win maybe 3-1, 4-1, like you're saying with the script, but you never know if they don't put the ball in the back of the net, like you're saying. But ultimately, I give the edge to Barcelona.
One more thing about it. What would you say about what
Yeah.
I said about the game being scripted before it happened? And do you think that would have had the same script if Barcelona would have played, for example, a PSG? Don't you think that that game would have been more unpredictable?
So if Barcelona wasn't playing Newcastle and they were playing PSG,
Yeah, because that was the other option.
Okay. On the other side of it, I mean, I guess you have to be thankful, number one, that you're facing Newcastle. But if I was to try to imagine PSG and Barcelona in my head right now, I see that game as a very tight game. I see it being tighter, right? A lot tighter in terms of both teams kind of want to do the same thing, but a little bit differently. And then PSG also, just like you're saying with Barcelona, PSG has that attribute where if they don't get things going right away, and Barcelona has 75% possession, then I don't know, like, I might still give the edge to Barcelona in a way. But as well as you're saying, with the physicality in the midfield, how Barcelona is going to deal with that, not only with Newcastle, with any of these 16 teams, you know what I mean? Because obviously it's going to be a higher level of caliber, higher intensity game. And that's just how it goes. I don't want to bring up the Chelsea match that Barcelona had when they had to go away and they ended up losing to Chelsea. So that's my only thought with Barcelona. Is it ever going to revert to that? Just like you're saying, where even though that game, it could have been referees, could have been whatever, but it's just sometimes the magic is sucked out a little bit, and that happens with every team almost, so.
Next
Uh,
one.
yeah, going forward is Sporting versus Bodo Glimt. Now, of course, Bodo Glimt knocked Inter out of the competition. They actually played really amazing. I want to add quickly, I didn't know prior to the game that Bodo Glimt is the only team that actually plays in the Arctic Circle, right? So the most northern team in the Champions League right now. Now, you might think, okay, whatever, but it turns out that there's actually not a lot of direct flights there. It's really, hard to get there. It's like one of those games where the players are spending 6 hours probably traveling up north to, which they're not used to. The other flights might be a little bit less. Not to give excuses, but also they do play on artificial turf, which makes the game a little bit differently. Lautaro Martinez did get injured, during that game. I'm not saying it was directly because of the turf, but we do know the correlation as well. So yeah, going into this and knowing how Bodo Glimt are and how tough of a travel that is, they beat Manchester City, they beat Atletico Madrid, and they actually play a pretty crazy brand of football, right? So it's almost embarrassing, but it's like, I don't know, it is what it is. They're playing good and the nature is with them. So they're facing Sporting now, and I think this could be a complete toss-up. Sporting has had a history of not really coming through in these situations. So what do you think?
I think that both teams are kind of the surprise of this Champions League in that regard. Like, they're probably the two teams that are on the lowest level. And it's interesting that they've matched them up because now it makes it unpredictable who's going to go through, right? Because I think that now both teams kind of have the same sort of the same amount of pressure to go through because they know that, oh, it's Sporting Lisbon. I mean, Bodo Glimt knows that Sporting Lisbon, oh, we have chances to go through. And Sporting Lisbon they say the same thing. Oh, it's Bodo Glimt, we got chances to go through. Whereas if the matchups would have been differently, like Bodo Glimt with a team that's on a higher level, they had zero pressure, so they would have played more freely, right? So I think this game is going to be very rocky. Like, I see that it's going to be probably very little goals. I would say probably a 0-0, 1-0 kind of game, maybe even going to
Right,
penalties. I think both
right.
teams have the pressure on them. It's not, yeah,
True,
that's what I
true.
think.
Yeah,
I don't know.
you're right. Against Inter, they were able to play more free. Whatever
Exactly.
happens, happens. Right. And this game, they're going to be thinking about it more. Now they're in a new stage. Now there's more pressure. Probably more fans are going to come out to their stadium, and more and more people talking about it. So, but yeah, no, it's going to be interesting. I think it would be interesting. I'm going to give the edge to Bodo Glimt right now because, like I said, playing in Norway is actually no joke. It's no joke. The temperatures are different. Like, everything can throw a footballer off. So I am going to give the edge to them, and then I want to see how far they could take it. Why not?
Why
Like,
not?
if you can go to quarters or semis, then why not? I'm all for it, and that's what the
Yeah,
Champions League
I
is
would say the
about
same
as
thing.
well.
Bodo Glimt have, I would give him the edge too for this game.
Yeah, nice, nice. Yeah. All right, the next one, Galatasaray and Liverpool. Very interesting matchups. Liverpool is honestly very back and forth, very rocky season. One game they're doing good, the next game they're losing in the extra time. And then you have Galatasaray, who honestly, they have Osimhen, and that guy can score at any time, right? So, and it can make it a hard game, right? So I honestly give this like a 50-50. I don't even really give too much edge to Liverpool. Not right now.
Okay.
Yeah. What about you?
No, I will give you the edge to Liverpool, honestly. I think 55-45. Not
Could be, yeah.
yeah. And the reason is why, like, Liverpool are, like, I always say this, right? If you're not doing good in the league and you're in the Champions League, you might as well go all the way to it. And I think Liverpool has the players. Salah is probably going to give his best football for this competition, especially because he knows that he's probably going to leave at the end of the season. I'm not sure how the situation is like that about that. So yeah, so I think Liverpool they want to win the Champions League. They won the Premier League last year, so this year, I think they you see yourself in that stage of the competition. You're just going to say, okay, I'm going to give 120% for this and try to win.
Yeah, the more I think of it, the only thing I really give Liverpool the edge for at this stage, because I've watched quite a few of their games this year, and it's really been dreadful. It's been dreadful. I know you say Salah. Salah's had a dreadful season. Not only has he had a dreadful season, he never shows up in any of these moments. Like, we've been asking Salah to show up in a big Champions League game year after year after year, and Salah does not show up. So I am not counting on Salah. I'm sorry. And when we talk about the performances of Virgil van Dijk this year, oh my days, I think Osimhen would absolutely eat him alive at this point. You know what I mean? You might as well just roll the ball out. So I think if it was up to me, I would give Liverpool's advantage to Anfield being mysterious, you know what I mean, and having the advantage at home. Alexis McAllister's had a pretty decent and solid season, and he can come up with a big goal sometimes. And then maybe some guys in their midfield like Gravenberch or Szoboszlai. It's literally depends on their midfield, right? Because you cannot count on Ekitike and Wirtz and some of their forwards to score this year. Cody Gakpo, he's been a shell from last season. So I think when I know that, like you were saying, kind of with league, like Galatasaray's in the Turkish league, they're gonna go all for it for this Champions League, you know. And like I said,
Their
to top it
stadium
off
is
with
really powerful
Osimhen,
too.
stadium is really powerful. When you top it off with Osimhen and even Icardi, like, who knows, right? But yeah, I think I have the edge to Galatasaray at this point, you know. But I wouldn't be
Yeah. Now that you
surprised
mention all the things, yeah, you could say that. Yeah,
if
for sure.
if Liverpool, if I wouldn't be surprised if Liverpool wins. But yeah. All right. So I think this one is probably a more unbalanced matchup. If you think about it, Atalanta and Bayern Munich, definitely very unbalanced matchup. Atalanta, they have a knack for coming through sometimes, you know, and they have some decent players, but I just see too much of a quality gap here. And I think Bayern
That's
Munich
what it is.
could win like 5-1 in one of these matchups. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, and it's not that Atalanta is a team that knows how to park the bus and wait for
yeah,
a counterattack. So they're probably going to try to do their football. And Bayern Munich, if that happens, you're leaving space on the field and they're going to destroy you. So I think on
yeah.
this game it's like an 80-20. I'm sorry if you were
Yeah,
like,
no,
I
for
think
sure,
Bayern has
100%.
all the
It is
power.
what it is. Yeah, we don't even
Yeah.
have to talk about it too much. So Atletico Madrid and Tottenham as the next matchup. Two teams also, I guess, in similar boats, right? Have been kind of living on the edge in terms of the elite teams. I'd say the one thing I would say is interesting for this matchup is um actually, now that I think of it, it's kind of coming onto my mind. But on one side, you do have Christian Romero, Cuti Romero, who is Tottenham's captain, right? He actually got a red card, and he accumulated too many red cards, so he's out of the Premier League for 4 games. But I know this game he has to definitely play, right? Because yeah, this would be the only option for him to play at this point. I think he'll be back in the Premier League next week. And then of course on the other side you have, you know, a lot of Argentines such as Simeone, Almada, Julian Alvarez, Noel Molina. So I think there's an interesting factor there. And I do want to mention with Tottenham that they did win the Europa League last year, right? So I don't know if their fitness is really up to it, but when they are fit, I think they're a handful for sure. So what do you think about it?
I'm going to give the edge to Atletico Madrid. I think because Atletico Madrid always competes against Real Madrid and Barca. I think we kind of underrate them a little bit. Like, I see a lot of people saying that, oh, Atletico Madrid only knows how to park the bus and they don't really play any attacking or attractive football. I would suggest people to actually watch one of their games on the league. I think their football has evolved in a way. Like, they are not super defensive as they used to be. Against Barcelona, I don't feel they try to park the bus. I already mentioned that before. I feel that Barcelona completely dominated them, and that's why they didn't have the intensity that they had on the first leg, and that's why they got dominated by Barcelona's team. But if you see like Atletico Madrid when they play Real Madrid, even in the last Champions League where they got eliminated for that penalty that Julian Alvarez allegedly touched twice.
Yeah.
So I think Atletico Madrid plays better football than Real Madrid. I think it's just real. It's true. They have a much more organized team. They know what they want, and I'm gonna give the edge to Atletico Madrid in this game. I think Cholo is very experienced on these games, and I already mentioned that he's really good on an 180-minute game. I think I'm gonna give the edge to Atletico.
Fair enough.
And I'm not saying this because my dad is a fan of Atletico Madrid, but
there you go.
it's a little bit of it too.
Yeah. There you go. Right. Yeah. So no, that's a fair take. I think Atletico Madrid has actually improved since Lookman has came to their team. You know, I think in the beginning of the season they were still trying to find a new identity, like you were saying, kind of moving on from the low block and trying to try something different. And I think what really made them look different, to my eye, at least to my eye test, is the fact that they don't really have a dominant midfield three. You know, they still kind of rely on Koke a little bit, and you know Marcos is in there, and you know it's a little dynamic. Sometimes Almada's playing, sometimes not, which is a big thing. I personally like their brand of football more when DePaul was playing with Atletico Madrid last year. I think they were fantastic, you know, and he ran that midfield. So I do question their midfield three at times and how it works with their fluidity. However, with Lookman now, it's a nice look. You know what I mean? Because now you have Lookman and Griezmann. Before Griezmann, he was kind of getting stuck and not able to play his football, but now he could play a little quicker, and I think it's benefiting them. So I'm going to give the edge to Atletico Madrid, but I do feel if Tottenham is healthy, that it could also go the other way. They're very sturdy in this tournament type of format. So remember, they beat Manchester City all the time. They face Arsenal and Chelsea basically all the time as well. So they'll definitely know what's at stake. But I give the Atletico Madrid the advantage because I think at home in the Wanda Metropolitano, they might be able to score 3 goals, you know? So if they could do that, then they have a good chance for sure. All right. Lastly, we have Bayern Leverkusen and Arsenal. Interesting matchup as well. Of course, we know Arsenal's coming in as Premier League leaders and pretty much at the top of their game, even though we discussed some of their tactics earlier. Leverkusen also playing pretty good, to be honest with you. They've had some good results. I've been able to follow them a little bit just because I do follow Ezequiel Palacios, who plays there as well. And I've seen some good results from them. Whether they're going to have enough to beat Arsenal, I mean, I highly doubt it. But I think a part of me does say, I'll give me a 25 to 30% shot just because it's football, you know? What about you?
20%, honestly. Arsenal is they have a bigger advantage on the league, which is going to be helpful for these games. In this type of games, they seem to be very, very good in terms of like they can score out of a corner kick. Their style of playing really adjusts to this format, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
So I really give him the edge on this one. I see very little possibility for Bayern Leverkusen.
Fair enough. Yeah, I agree. Bayern Leverkusen is probably just happy to be at this stage of the game. But like I said, you never know. I think what I'm trying to say, I think one of the games will be tight. I'm not sure about both games, but I think we could have like a 1-0 Arsenal, maybe with a late winner. You know what I mean, in one of the games, and then
yeah. But Arsenal knows how to play with those tight results,
for
right?
sure, exactly,
very
for
good
sure,
with that.
100%.
Because that's kind of what happened with Real Madrid last year when they scored 2 free kick goals, and then the next game they completely dominated and scored like, I don't know, and it was like a 5-2 at the end, right? So
right.
I think in that regard they're pretty good.
100%. Well, that is it for the round of 16 matchups. Yeah, I guess we will be giving you guys an update as of next week, and we will go over some of the recaps from the first leg, but it will be a definite exciting week, I will say. All right. So, a few topics just so we can end off and cap off what's been going on in the football world. First off, MLS, of course, was back in action. Some interesting games there. Toronto FC lost their first two games, of course, and we've had already a brace from Lionel Messi where he scored two goals and gave one assist in a comeback win, which they were actually down 2-0, and they scored four goals in the second half. And Messi kind of made it look like it was nothing, like it was so easy, which was actually kind of funny if you think about it. So I don't know if you got to catch any of that action or see any of the
I saw
highlights,
the
but
goals. Yeah,
yeah,
I saw the
yeah,
goals, and I think a lot of what we're gonna see of Messi the next months, it's gonna be very connected to what we're gonna see on the World Cup. You know, he's quietly preparing for it. Like, you know what I'm saying?
yeah,
He's
yeah,
training at home. I can tell. Like, yeah,
yeah.
he's getting in
Right, right.
shape for that World Cup. So
Yeah, he looked pretty electric. Like he was really electric, and I think you've seen that video I put on TikTok where he got like knocked down and he got up in like 2 seconds. And it's just like, dude, if that was any other player, like forget about it. You're on the ground. You
yeah,
know what I mean? What are you doing?
yeah. I've
So
seen Messi doing weighted pull-ups,
yeah,
which is pretty
he's
impressive, man.
yeah, yeah.
He's strong. He's strong. It's not an easy
We we
exercise.
we might pull that video up for the viewers, um,
Yeah,
for the video. So anyhow, so yeah, that was pretty exciting. Um, of course, with Hungmin's son now in the MLS, I think you know what? If another I know Griezmann's talking about it. If another 4 to 5 players, were able to come and round out this league, obviously nowhere close to Europe, but we're looking at something a little bit more competitive, and more eye-catching, more interesting. The viewership is up, obviously, with Messi there. So, any thoughts on where the MLS could go in the next
I
four to
think it's
five
a
years,
moving
or maybe
Son
even
to the
1 to 2
league.
years? Yeah,
Sorry, I think moving Son to the MLS, it's one of the best moves because the Asian market is very strong on football, so that's going to
true,
bring a lot of people, a lot of eyes on that, and a lot of
true.
monetary investment as well because they have a better financial situation in that regard. So it's a very smart move, actually. It's a very, very smart move. Yeah, and I want to become a fan of the MLS. The only thing, they have to make it more competitive, but I do like the format they play.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, they have to think about it. You know what I mean? The format's pretty cool, but I think there's a lot of teams as well. I think it's like 30 teams. So, I don't know if they're gonna keep it the same or just change something in the future. But yeah, with Sun there, I think a couple more players in rotation could really see, an interesting league for sure. All right, going forward, it is now under 100 days to the World Cup, and there was a festival in Toronto here, and also a lot of festivals actually in pretty much every host city, just celebrating the fact that it's 100 days away and, it's getting closer and closer and closer. Yeah, just a quick mention pretty much. I don't know if you have any thoughts about how close we are right now and what some teams might be thinking about, what might be swirling around,
I'm just excited for it, honestly.
right? Yeah.
I'm just excited for it. I didn't go to the event. I think you did.
I
I
didn't get to
mean, I
make it.
think
No, I didn't get to make it yesterday, but I had somebody go out and get footage for me, so we still posted up some good content. It looked
okay.
amazing though, to be honest with you. Yeah, it looked absolutely amazing.
I'm just excited for it. I hope it's a special World Cup. I think it will be. I have my doubts on the amount of teams that we're having here, but we'll see how we pull through. Like, at the end of the day, summer comes along, and then we enjoy. It's probably the best month in the next 4 years. It's always like that. The World Cup is like,
For sure.
it's just the most exciting event ever.
Yeah, and the fact that it's in North America too, even more exciting because it's close to home. So yeah, we're going to be giving you guys all the information and all the previews in the coming months. So stay up for that. Quickly wanted to touch on uh, the Finalissima between Argentina and Spain taking place on March 27th. They're currently getting together on Friday to change the location, hopefully, as obviously there's some geopolitical tensions in the original location of Qatar, which was where they wanted to play it. Yeah, so that's going to be something to look out for. It's going to be a very big match. I am super excited for that match, and I'm hoping that they can find a location as soon as possible. I would love to actually go there myself, but we shall see how things play out. Originally, when it was going to be in Qatar, I'm like, okay, there's no way, but you never know. If it's in New Jersey or something like that, I might have to think about it. Anyhow, it's going to be an amazing game. Any pre-thoughts, not necessarily on the location, but the game itself?
Well, they could tap on the, go to Asia or somewhere, China, you know, Australia as well.
Yeah.
We talk though, but you know, and
So
parenthesis too, we mentioned about the thing that Cristiano Ronaldo had to flee the country.
is that true?
Yep, he left. As far as I
Wow.
know, he left.
Wow.
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Wow.
I'm not informed, but maybe we should make a post about it later.
Yeah, no, for sure. That I did see a report about that, and you know what I mean. The first thing I thought about was, of course, the choice to go to Saudi. Number one, the tensions there. Of course, that would be the smartest decisions to get out, right? Like just leave. It doesn't matter how much money you're making. It doesn't matter how much they're going to pay you. If those type of things are going on, and your security is at risk, which could be anywhere, right? So it's not to say just Saudi, but yeah, no, definitely my thoughts go out to that part of the world because it's crazy, crazy times.
Crazy times indeed.
Yeah. All right. So lastly, I want to quickly talk about Mbappe's potential knee concern. Have you heard any reports on whether he'll actually play for this game against Man City? From what I've been gathering, he has a knee concern right now, and he's been flying between France and Spain to get it checked out by the various doctors. And there's, different reports coming out on different sides. Real Madrid kind of pushing him to play this game. And then, of course, there's interests of him recovering and making it to the World Cup. So, did you hear anything about what's going on there?
Yes, I have actually. So the insight that I have is that it's not so much of an insight, but the Spanish press are saying that Mbappe is not trusting the Real Madrid doctors. That's why he basically flee the country and went to France to take a look, like a second opinion. And he's going to probably be treated there because what he thinks that is that Real Madrid doctors are going to force him to play. And that might have, side effects when he plays the World Cup, which is similar to what happened to Umtiti in Barcelona. I don't know if you remember that. He won the World Cup, but then his career was over.
Right. Right.
So I think he's probably going to be inclined to be treated by the doctors in France, because I heard that he's not 100% trusting the doctors in Real Madrid. I think it makes sense, but I think that also shows that how individualistic he is in that regard. I didn't want to talk bad about Mbappe. I know his health, it's the most important thing, but he should be with the team. I don't know. At least not play him, but be with the team. I think this is a very crucial part of the season, but he's just like caring about himself, right? So
True. I mean, and that's the motivation, right? Because he probably has a whole bunch of people talking to him. He's been talking about this discomfort for a while. They're saying it could potentially be a partial tear in his ACL or in one of his tendons. I mean, I know he's concerned about the World Cup. I think that's the big thing for him right now. He's just like, there's no way I'm gonna injure myself and miss this thing. And at the same time, I think it's being in a different country as well. He's probably more comfortable, whatever, in France or with French doctors. Not to say he's right or wrong, but I think that's just what's kind of going through his head a little bit. I can see what you're saying in terms of an individualistic, type mindset where he could be putting, the doubts aside a little bit and trusting, the doctors over there. But it's a tough one. And the funny thing is, when I look back at Mbappe's season this year, he's had such an incredible season, but I know he's been probably hurt and not been able to be at 100. I could tell just by the way he's running, by the way he's playing. Um, and there's certain games where he can go like 100%, and then there's certain games where it's a little bit heavy. Lautaro Martinez actually has some of the similar problems, right? Where I can kind of sense certain games, you know what I mean? The pain is there, and he's talked about knee injections before and having to play through the World Cup with knee injections, things like that. So it's just
one
so hard
last
to
thing
assess. It's so hard to assess what a player is actually feeling, is what I'm trying to say, right? We look at it sometimes, they're running, they're doing everything. I played football the other day. You could play through pain, sometimes if you want to. So yeah, go ahead.
So I just want to remember what happened with Umtiti. What Barcelona, the doctors from Barcelona, the advice was that he had to get surgery so he doesn't have any problems in his future on his knee, right? But then if he were to have that surgery, he wasn't going to be able to play that World Cup, right?
Yes, yes.
And then he forced and he played that World Cup, and exactly how the doctors from Barcelona said, he had problems afterwards. So what I'm afraid of is that maybe Real Madrid, the doctors there, they're advising him that he has to get surgery because at this point of the season, I mean, we can play without him, or he can force just a couple of games this season, and then as soon as the season is over, he should get surgery to get better and not be able to play the World Cup. I don't think he wants that, but
it also reminds me of the Di Maria situation where they actually sent a letter to Di Maria and said, we don't want you to play, don't play the World Cup final at all costs, right? So Real Madrid clearly has a history of trying to, well, I don't want to say a history of that, but at the same time,
I mean, they have to take care of their players, right? I'm not
exactly,
fond of
that's
Real
their,
Madrid, but that's like who's paying the salary, right? Real Madrid. I think international football it puts a lot of pressure on the players, especially when they're injured and they try to make it, and sometimes that can ruin their careers. If I was Mbappe and I had to get surgery, my advice would be, I'm always taking it slow. I'm the type of person that I'll be like, if I have to take one World Cup to recover and have a long career, I would take that route, and I would just wait for the next World Cup because I know I'm going to play it. I'm 27 years old, right? But I think that's just the way I think. But I don't know. Mbappe is just, he wants to play every single World Cup.
100%, yeah. Exactly. No, 100%. Okay, I see what you're saying. You can miss this one and then still, be able to play another one type thing, but and that's the tricky thing with Mbappe is how the last World Cup ended. Oh my gosh, he's probably been thinking about playing this World Cup, you know what I mean? And it's tricky because even I think Rodrigo for Brazil recently also got
He's not going to make it.
Sent into surgery with his ACL. So I mean, yeah, it's a very fine line, very tricky. I think it's tricky for Mbappe right now because it seems like the way he's moving, he has to make a decision like soon.
Yeah.
Are you gonna play? Are you gonna say forget the surgery, or are you gonna go into surgery in 2 weeks, try to make the World Cup type thing? I mean, it's a lot to think about.
Yeah, but we have to think. We're also older, right? So we think a bit more like on a future weight basis. Like we know that we're probably in our 30s and like we could still play technically, but you have to remember these guys are in their 20s, right? So they always thinking about tomorrow. And I want to mention as well Gavi. He's about to be recovered, and he should not play this World Cup. Like, I really don't want him to be called because he has to take a while to get back to his level. And if he forces, this World Cup can ruin his whole career in the future. So I think
they might even play him for the Finalissima. Chances are, right? So,
and I don't think he should, because I think he should focus on his recovery and like try to make his career as long as possible. I think I wish someone would like talk to the players and say, hey man, you're only 22, 24, 27 years old. You rather play this World Cup and then not have a long career, or would you rather like, play this World Cup, force it, and have like a 50% chance or even a 30% chance that your career is not going to be the way it should be? So I think players have to be like talked to all the time about these things.
Yeah. 100%, 100%. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm pretty sure every club, every country deals with these things a little bit differently. The same but different. Lisandro Martinez went through that. You know what I mean? And he had his surgery. Good thing that he's coming back right around these times, and he's still feeling some discomfort. You know what I mean? And having to take it easy. So, yeah, it's very tricky. It's very tricky, but it's just crazy that it's Mbappe, and you know what I mean. The media is so kind of hush hush around everything and trying to put out different stories. So I want to hear the real stories, what I'm trying to say. I want to hear what's really going on, what's the facts, and then, we can all see how this is going to play out, because it will be a big factor. If Mbappe misses the World Cup, I think that's an incredible blow for France. Not only that, but just after, like I said, from what happened last World Cup to not get that, that next chance, it's probably going to bug him a little bit. So we shall see. We shall see. However, that is and does finalize and conclude all of the topics for today. It's been a great episode. We got through a lot of good content and good context as well. As you know, our affiliates links will still be available in all of our descriptions. So make sure you check that out in our biography and the YouTube description. That is with BioSteel, so you can get your protein, energy shakes, and all the good stuff that's going to keep you hydrated throughout the day. And of course, the platform that we're using right now, Riverside FM, to do our online remote podcast, right? So you can get an exclusive free account right now. All you have to do is hit the link in our description and away you go. Sign up. Everything is super simple, super easy. You can record, edit, and pretty much export everything out of Riverside. So make sure you check that out, guys. Anyways, 90 minutes or more. Yeah, we'll be back after the recap of the Champions League games, and we'll get into all the other things that need to be unpacked. All right. Any last words, Vicente?
Not much to say.
Yeah.
Pretty
All
good.
right. Well, we'll see you guys next time then. Ciao.
Ciao, ciao.